QB
G'day, listeners. This episode is proudly brought to you by our major sponsor, Gym Journal. Please use the code MATTER, all capitals, at checkout, and you'll receive a discount on your next purchase. Please find the link in the description. G'day, listeners, and welcome back to another very special episode of the Matter Mentality Podcast, where we talk all things training, nutrition, and psychology to optimize your performance. Today, I am joined by another very special guest. This guy was not cool enough to grace us with his presence in Virginia in August last year. He was too cool to come by. So, unfortunately, I got the other half of the team that I got to communicate and interact with and chat with, which is better, to be honest, but, whatever, it's here nor there. I am joined by the double master degree, big shot over here, Jimmy Hallinan. How are you doing, brother?
I am great. I am not too cool. I was very disappointed that I could not go to that. That would have been the closest conference that I would have gone to my house. I could have drove there. But I got a kid and stuff. So and I couldn't bounce. I couldn't leave him alone for that long. My wife works and all that, but I did really want to go. There was something specific that weekend. I know. I was like, if there was anything, any other weekend,
sit them in the corner and let them just take care of themselves.
Yeah, it was just there was something happening that week. I forget, but anyway, yeah, I do feel bad that your first introduction to the pair of the Other Side Lifestyle was a ROM, but it did work out. You liked them enough that you got to meet me, which is the real
exchange, right?
I like it.
Kid around, we kid. You're all right. You can stay.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. I'm always honored to be asked to be a guest on something, especially from somebody as good looking and as far around the world as you.
No, it's been fun. Like I kind of keep coming back to the same story when it comes back to America, but we got the bar set too high too early. Like now, anyone that we meet in America either has to match it or they got to be improved. Otherwise, they're all shit. Because we've met like a good group of people that are all just like in the game. You kind of hear about the negative stories of the fitness industry, the health industry, of how shitty and crummy everyone is. We've managed to meet in America, of all places, which you were always led to believe is super obnoxious and selfish, is genuinely good people that love our game and what we do. And we all just still stay connected, chat shop, connect me to other people. I've now made more connections, and we've made more connections on behalf of Matter to other people. So, there's this same story keeps coming, but so far we've managed to keep this circle of just good coaches and people in the game versus the obnoxious ones that we no doubt know are in America that we could probably run into at some point when we're over there.
Yeah, it is drastic, the difference in the people that you'll meet based on the conference that you go to. So you clearly picked a good one. And when me and Aram first met, it was in those conferences where it's like half the people are butt models, Instagram influencers, hundreds of thousands of followers, no business. Yeah. And it was like, you could see the room was like split. Like, these are the real coaches and these are the people that are just quote unquote in the fitness industry. So if you met people, if the people that you've connected to, that you picked a good conference, what made you pick that one to fly all the way out here for?
I spoke at it. So Cav actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Cav organised it. We met Cav online actually. Big backstory there. Everyone that's probably listening to this by now knows it. But basically, we got connected, and he just sort of said, "Hey, your brain needs to be on stage." I was quite humbled, and he was like, "We're running the Coach Catalyst Summit. I'm now on the Coach Catalyst app." And he's like, "We want you to present your knowledge. What can you talk about? What can you do? Get in front of people." I was like, "Cool." And yeah, pretty much it was like one of those things where, you always think something's going to go wrong and it's not going to happen. Every month leading up to it, it was like, because we knew 6 months in advance. It's like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm like, yeah, okay, guys, sure we are. That's a cool story. And then it kept happening and still happening and still happening. It's like, all right, your tickets are in. All right, your visa's done. All right, this. I'm like, what's going to go wrong here? And then we got there. It was just fucking awesome. And it was just like
that's awesome.
A solid 2 weeks of America of just good people. And we're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. It seemed like there would be good people at that one. So I was disappointed that I couldn't go, but that's awesome that you got to do it. And I'm glad I got to know you because you did it.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's led to some good connections otherwise. Mate.
Yeah.
We've talked about me on your podcast. We've talked about our fields of knowledge on the other side. But give us a bit of a background to you, because people should be known by now, we're trying to bring a different approach to the fitness industry, the nutrition industry, the performance industry, and we're trying to bring a more accessible level to brains and to a smarter approach to coaching, to training, to nutrition, for even the basic person. And you kind of fit that model for us quite well in just the things we've observed and seen. So give us a background that led to you, wanting to get into a master's in exercise science and teaching, and kind of how you got here.
Sounds good. Everything that I've done since I was young almost revolved around teaching in some way, teaching swim lessons. When I was young, I was a personal trainer. When I was in college, I always wanted to be a teacher. I actually would have liked to have been a history teacher, because a lot of history teachers I had in high school were really boring. Yep. And I had one that was really good, and I'm like, I could make history fun. Yep. And I did not want to study history for 4 years. I just knew that. I'm like, I don't want to study this. I don't want to write all these papers. I just want to teach it. So I went in for phys ed. I just knew I wanted to be a teacher. Something about it. I don't want to use the word called to it. It was just, it fit my personality. I couldn't see myself sitting behind a desk. I liked teaching. I felt like I always did a good job explaining things and teaching things and all that. So I became a teacher. I went for phys ed. Because why not? Everybody's like, nah, you're never going to get a job. They're going to cut phys ed. And I'm like, if it's something I want to do, and this is just my attitude in life in general, it always has been, if it's something that you really want to do and it fits your skill set, then do it. Yeah. You can't be thinking about what everything else is saying, because I also don't agree that you can be whatever you want. I don't agree with that. I will never be an NBA player, no matter how hard I tried. So once we accept our limitations, then we can become limitless. This is a phrase that I've started to say. I don't know if anybody else ever said it or not. I'm sure it's not a completely unique thought, but once we accept that. Anyway, so went into education when I was in college, personal trainer, taught swim lessons, lifeguard, that kind of stuff, got a job pretty quick out of college, and became a teacher. Driver's ed teacher. Started a driving school, which is a weird little extra thing. So I own my own driving school business, which I'm pretty hands off with now. But over the years of teaching, seeing people, kids, adults, colleagues just struggling with body image, struggling with the diet fads that have been going on, that still go on, but as I've gotten more knowledgeable, I almost just ignore all the fads that are out there. But it just seemed like there was a lot more going on in the 90s and early 2000s in my memory. So seeing people struggling with that stuff and trying to have these conversations in class as a teacher or potentially with colleagues and things like that, it just was a natural conversation that I would have with people. I brought up to my school that we should have a course, because our school is a very large school. We have advanced classes in every area, including pottery. But there's nothing in the world of health, fitness, nutrition, except for phys ed, which we all know isn't really preparing anybody for actual knowledge in fitness, training, nutrition, or a career in that. So I brought it up years ago that this should be a class. I proposed it to our school. They liked the idea of it. So now I have to write a curriculum. I did not want to write a curriculum and teach a course based solely on my experience from 10 years prior as a trainer or my Google experience and all that. So I immediately enrolled in a master's program in exercise science and sport nutrition. I had enough time to be able to knock out a decent amount of classes where I used those classes and the things I learned, quote unquote, from there as the basis for the curriculum. Wrote the curriculum, started teaching that class. While teaching that class, I'm trying to explain to these students that nutrition coaching is an actual business that people can do. If you really care about people, you really understand the nuance of stuff, you can make this. At the time, it was not a big business. It's nothing like what it was now. I mean, 7 years ago, if you heard the phrase nutrition coach, it's like, what? Now it's a little bit more common. So while teaching that course and trying to explain that to these kids, I started Jimmy Nutrition. Like Jimmy Neutron, bringing the science back to coaching instead of all the BS that's out there. So yeah, I literally started the business because I was teaching this course, trying to show these kids that this is something you can do, and started doing the nutrition coaching thing. Started going around the gyms and saying, "Hey, I'm a nutrition coach. I'm offering free seminars to the gyms, a lot of group fitness places, because I know that this is a question that a lot of clients ask about, but the fitness coach doesn't really know the nutrition stuff. They know what works for them. And that's what kind of blew up locally my business. It got to a point where I wasn't even, I had no systems. I had 50 plus clients. I'm not even like keeping track of them. It was bad. So it's evolved over the years, and it's much better systems and whatnot. But it really was coming from that place of seeing young people struggling with body image and struggling with what do I do and what is good for me and what's not good for me, and all that kind of stuff. It really just branched from that. So I've been doing the online coaching thing since then because of all that. And I have a master's, because you said the double master's. I have a master's to be like a principal, which I don't want to be.
Yeah, right. There you go. To be a principal. Just you roll around the school being like, is that a protein bar, you little shit?
Yeah, forget. I'll just wear like a tight t-shirt with a clip-on tie on the t-shirt.
Just a drawn-on tie.
Every day I have the
same t-shirts.
Tuxedo t-shirt every day, same one. Every day.
Things.
Yeah.
The sewed-on patches on the elbows.
Yeah. Everybody's like, who's this principal with the tattoos and the tuxedo t-shirt? This is weird.
That'd be fair.
You know, I'll wear a fake mustache.
So
what's that?
Is this level of schooling that you're writing? Is it elementary, middle school, high school?
High school. I was teaching 10th grade at the time of proposing that class, and then started teaching 12th grade when that class was put into effect. So I teach 12th grade health and phys ed, and then this nutrition kinesiology course.
Nice. I like that. It's definitely something I'd like. I don't know a lot about America's curriculum itself, but from what I've seen, I imagine your phys ed is very similar to ours, where it's kind of like our senior level physical education was like, we played touch rugby, we played volleyball, we played basketball, we did Pilates. There was some how would you describe it? There was some curriculum behind it, like you had to submit assignments and talk about X, Y, Z, and kind of actually put the intellectual side behind it. But most of it was realistically for an hour, 3 times a week. We just have to play sport, and usually sports we all like playing. So it encouraged activity and getting outside, which is great. But one of the things that I've always noticed from schooling is when I find the groups of people that I used to know, and I started seeing this across schools and across groups, it almost went like structured school sport to nothing, because no one was actually taught why physical activity was important, and no one was taught why nutrition was important. You go from you hear that age of like, my metabolism slowed down. The reality is the person who was 17 playing 5 different sports 10 times a week and running around every lunch break playing different foosball and soccer and cricket and whatever else, and they had that output of a 16-year-old who basically then went to nothing and just kept eating shit and eating crap food and drinking alcohol now that they're over 18 or 21, and then come to this conclusion that metabolism is broken because they were never actually taught that you were doing 20 plus sessions of activity a week in structured schooling to then doing nothing because no one told you to do it.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's there's such a lack of awareness of that when people say, I used to be able to eat whatever I want and didn't gain weight. Total lack of awareness of how much they moved in general. I mean, even when somebody goes to university, when they go to university, they're walking around a lot from class to class, and then they get a job and they're sitting in a desk all day, and then they're stressed out and tired from it. So what do? Sit on the couch all day, and they think the amount of people that will say potentially on an intake form, or if they're using an app to figure out their calories, that they're active, highly active. I go to the gym every day. And you think you're highly active. 1 hour. You think you're highly active. The rest of the time you're sitting. So absolutely, that's huge. And then for people to understand, when you say like the slow down metabolism, people who are gaining weight and they'll say my metabolism slowed down, to then explain to them it's probably higher than it was. You take a 350 pound guy, you're going to get him to lose weight on 3,000 calories. He's burning more calories. He's just over consuming. So if he can lose weight at 3,000 calories, that means he's burning more. So his metabolism's faster than the 160 pound person who's trying to gain weight, who says, my metabolism is just too fast. I can't gain weight. No, you're not eating enough. So it's tough to go against that. And I'll have kids always, when I'm teaching these things, because in the health curriculum, so for the people that don't enroll in my class, I have at least one marking period of health. I get into this stuff. And I ask them, since they're seniors and our curriculum is so broad, we don't have to teach everything in the curriculum. We just can't teach things outside of the curriculum. So I always ask them at the beginning, first day of the market period, what do you think senior health should be? And I've been doing it 7-ish years with seniors, and they all write down similar topics, and nutrition's always one of them. Good. Like they learned it freshman year in health, but it was like the BS. Carbohydrates, they include blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, we want to have a healthy balance. So they're not really learning the application aspect or the real life aspect of it. So I always dive deep into the nutrition stuff and the training and all that. And I love in phys ed, even though it is, like you said, it's the same thing. It's mostly games and activities. The unfortunate thing with phys ed is that there's not different levels. So you have students who are low performing athletes in the same class as high performing athletes, yet no other subject in the school is like that. So the low performing athletes don't want to participate. They kind of hide. And the high level athletes don't want to participate against low level athletes. So it'd be great if we could separate those things, but I always take my students into a weight room unit and I really try to push the idea, hey, this is something that you're going to want to feel comfortable in once you graduate from here. Nobody cares you're the best athlete now. We want to be able to move our bodies well. We want to know how we should do certain basic functions, certain basic movements. And I drive home like the etiquette in the gym of like, this is not a place that we're laughing at anybody in this class. We're here to support people. And I love seeing those kids who are not athletes and they get in there and they have like this great form for a squat. Where they end up being stronger than they thought. And it's this one place in phys ed where some of these kids who are low level in sports get to feel strong or feel good. So it's always an exciting time in there for those kids. And it'd be great if we just had different levels for it. But I just rambled.
No, it's good. It's good because it's the thing. Being able to actually allow gym to be an encouraged section of school. Because like we kind of touched on, is it stops for a lot of people. There is no like their understanding of gym or training. It might be a group class 3 times a week, which is great if you want to get started and just simply move more. But there is no knowledge behind it. So actually having a scaffolded approach to education, one of my favorite parts of developmental psychology was learning about Vygotsky's method of scaffolding and actually teaching the Goldilocks zone of development. And actually being able to put people in a position where they can depend on someone who knows what they're doing, but also learn enough to go out on their own and start to develop an autonomous interest in the field. It gets more people training, it gets people more in the gym. Yeah, it makes more money for us as coaches, but the reality is it's because people trying to eventually want to take it more serious. And at the current, from what I've seen, even the data that I researched for the presentation with you guys, over in Virginia, America is very similar to Australia in their levels of nutritional adherence, their levels to the recommended dietary intake, daily intake, and physical activity levels. Very, very similar culture, socially, socioeconomically. It's the fact that so many people just simply don't do anything. Like there is no learning period in school where it's like, hey, just so you're aware, you're probably going to want to pay your taxes. You're probably going to want to learn how to do X, Y, Z. You're going to learn how to budget. And you're probably going to learn how to move and eat better because that's going to make you more active, more productive, more healthy, live longer, not get to 50, drop dead and be overweight with high cholesterol and blood pressure. And you'll actually probably have more enjoyment in life. That isn't taught.
And that's the thing that I try with everything. My messaging on Instagram, my conversation with clients, the conversation with students is that it could be like this fear-mongering thing. Like, you don't want to drop dead at this age because you're unhealthy. Everybody's like, whatever, I'm 18. I don't fucking care. Like, they don't care. Like, they're not thinking about that kind of stuff. It's these things. Your life doesn't revolve around this unless you're in the space. Your life revolves around, but your life doesn't revolve around your training. Training enhances your life. I want to be able to have more opportunity to do things. I want to be able to go to Disney World and not be exhausted from walking. I want to be able to fit on every ride. I want to be able to do a hike in Zion National Park and see the view at the top of the mountain. That's the whole point of this. And unfortunately in schools, because this stuff is not really done, a lot of students, probably more than half, their experience is these jock assholes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like these jock assholes. These people are this way. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to reject the culture of weight training, eating healthy, because these people are douchebags. And that's the unfortunate part. So if we can flip the script a little bit with that and make some change there, that'd be great. And hopefully with all this mental health stuff that's been going on the last few years, hopefully there's a shift. And I know at my district, there's already conversations, and my name's apparently coming up with creating something in the wellness space for schools. They're realizing we could talk about mental health all day. If your diet is shit, you don't move your body, you're not outside, mental health is going to continue to be a problem.
Yes.
You cannot fix mental health with a sedentary, unhealthy lifestyle. It's not going to fix it.
Correct. Yeah, it's one of those things like this. I'm not sure if it's big in America. It's very big over here now, where there's kind of like this wellness empowerment phase era, if you want to call it that. And there's a lot of people basically just pushing the narrative of like, you're great the way you are, and you're this the way you are, you're perfect, don't change anything, and it's completely okay. And this person's coming to you as a client or as an end user of your service, your system, and they're basically saying like, I want to change. And you're basically being force-fed and told that you are okay the way you are. Don't change anything. You're great. Basically, it's someone getting paid to do nothing for a job, which I hate. But the idea that,
and that's the problem too. It's like they don't have to be synonymous. You can be great where you are. You can be great. Yes. Your value as a human, and you're in a great place right now. Fantastic. You can still love yourself to a better position or a better place where you are more fulfilled and all that kind of stuff. But it somehow becomes synonymous with love yourself. Therefore, don't change.
And I would argue loving yourself would be taking care of yourself enough to put yourself in the best physical position and the best emotional position to live a life that is fulfilling to you. If you love yourself and you want to play the whole like mental health, mindful, empowering card, then to me, that would be putting yourself physically, emotionally, psychologically in the best position possible to live a long, fulfilling life. And
just better. Just better.
Let's
do better. We don't have to worry about best. Let's do better.
Yeah.
Like better than what you are.
Just do better.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the idea of like, hey man, you're perfect the way you are. You know what I'm saying? Like you're great. You know what the best way to really celebrate how great you are? Sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Yeah. Get some pizza. Have a beer. You're great the way you are. Let's celebrate that with these awful things. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. But it's true though. Like a lot of psychological unrest, emotional unrest, I would argue like one of the things that I find interesting in psychology is I would find probably two different types of depression people use in different contexts that I think it gets taken out of actual context. One which is actually clinically assessed, diagnosed depression, and one that is more like an environmental depression. Yes. One that is you actually require SSRIs, you require antidepressants, you require psychological intervention. One requires, before we go and make that diagnosis, you require lifestyle intervention, and then we can discuss the actual legitimacy of your depression. Or is it more that you're you're not a victim, I'm not going to use the word victim, you are a result of your circumstances and environment that you are refusing to change. That to me, in the way you kind of just described it there in that mental health realm, that's the problem that I think a lot of people need to address that would undo so many problems.
Yeah, what I say all the time, because as a teacher, young people, more than ever, I have anxiety. That's what they say. I have anxiety. My niece, who's 12, couple years, 10 years old, she's like, I have anxiety. She wouldn't go on rides at a tiny amusement park at a beach boardwalk.
Oh, God.
I have anxiety. And my response, and this is what I try to tell my students, because a lot of times students will say they'll want to talk about the topic, senior health should be about anxiety, stress, depression, all that kind of stuff. So I've created lessons around that. I want you to say, you don't have anxiety, you're experiencing anxiety. And there's a big difference.
Yes.
It's a small percentage of people who are experiencing primary chemical depression.
Yes.
Most people are just experiencing depression. They're experiencing sadness. They're experiencing anxiety. And we're in this culture now, and hopefully the pendulum will swing back. I assume it will, because the pendulum always swings back to it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to feel this way. We need to learn how to push through it. it was probably 10 plus years ago when the whole anti-bullying campaign really got big, which we all support. We all support. We shouldn't bully people.
Yes.
The problem with the anti-bullying campaign is that we were teaching kids that it's everybody else's responsibility to protect your feelings. There was no teaching kids how to handle these situations.
Yeah.
You know, bullying's always going to be there. You can have the anti-bullying all day, but when you're pushing anti-bullying, it's saying you should never have to feel uncomfortable. You should never have to feel this feeling. And I said it years ago, forever ago, like this isn't good. And then we see the fruition of that stuff now. So that is something I try to drive home. You're experiencing this right now. You don't have it.
And that's a an interesting point to touch on is experience is not definitive. It is not definitive, but it doesn't define. And it's such a strange concept where people have this emotional absorption of their identity where, like, it becomes a part of who they are because they experience something. It's like an easy example I have is that if I were to make my car accident and the actual diagnosed depression I have or had with it, the entirety of my identity and basically every conversation, every talking point, every interaction, every new social connection is basically, hi, I'm Ben, I was hit with a car. Like, that doesn't happen, but I find nowadays that a lot of people get so caught up in, discussing that they have this depressive disorder, they have this body weight issue, or this metabolism issue, or this eating disordered history. A lot of the time they don't actually have those things. They've experienced it or went through a bout of it, and therefore it's a justification or crux to, I don't have to take responsibility for my nutrition, physical health, mental health, or activity levels. And one of the things I actually like, which is kind of a good spin here, is that I wanted to get into your quick thoughts. Is there a mainstay of your page? Is that you promote a very similar message to me in a certain sense. Like, I definitely find I push more towards, like, high performance and elite athletes and things like that. But we work very well in the space of lifestyle management, lifestyle modification. We generally try and prime our lifestyle clients to begin bodybuilding. So, like, they're usually people that come through with, like, the interest of, like, elite physique development, and they're like, hey, I really want to push this. But your message is quite similar up until that point where it's like, things happen to you, and these things might have gone wrong or might have been bad, but it's your responsibility to fix it. It's your responsibility to take action, learn the right things, ask the right questions, find the right coach, take the evidence that exists and actually implement it. No one's going to hold your hand through that scenario. As much as it was shit what happened to you, whatever it might be, and most times probably not that bad, it's your responsibility to actually correct it. That'd be a fair summary of kind of like your message.
Yeah, and my posts, I know that even sometimes they can sound like polar opposites. I definitely would describe myself as an empathetic coach. I'm not a macro coach. I use macros and tracking and all that, but let's have a conversation about what's going on. There needs to be, as far as I'm concerned, especially for the lifestyle clients, a lot of empathy involved, but then those conversations of, okay, now what? Now what? Are these decisions that you're making in the moment because of the emotion that you're dealing with, and they're all understandable, are they making you actually feel better?
Yes.
What can we do next time? What is a strategy that you think that you could do next time? So there's this empathy in some of my posts and these, existential, views on things. And then even like the spiritual aspect of things with some of my posts. And there's other posts where it's like, eat fucking real food, fucking lift weights, say fuck you to big pharma, say fuck you to the big food industry, say fuck you to the government, like like I have those. It goes back and forth, but it's still all the same thing. So there is that ultimate responsibility and understanding and accepting, is this stuff working out for you? Like the movie Fight Club, how's that working out for you? You ever see Fight Club? Yeah. Oh, you're pretty clever. Oh, thanks. How's that working out for you? Like, people want to say all this stuff. I want to have this. I want to have my cake and eat it too. How's that working out for you?
And it's a fair question. It really is, because, like you said, like, is this good for you? Like, it's such a simple question to ask in a scenario. Is this serving me in the way that I want it to, with the goals that I say that I have? It's such a, like, we kind of spoke about when I was on the other side, choice points. Actually asking, is this choice going to take me towards the life I want to live and a fulfilling value-based life, or is it going to take me away from it? And once you have that tool, it's such an empowering concept that actually you are responsible for the choice that you make, but you can make the choice best on your decision, on your self-serving interests. Because the reality is, hired a coach, you've made the plan, you've got the strategy, you obviously want this. So why would it not be your responsibility then to act on it and make that choice? Like, no one's saying don't. They're just saying don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I think some people get intimidated even by the phrasing of that. Is this moving you towards your goal or not? And I'll say that. Is this get you there or not? But then instantly, I think a lot of people who have not gone through the ups and downs of getting a better lifestyle, I don't even want to say dieting, going through that process, if they haven't gone through it, they then associate, well, if I have a cookie, that's not getting me towards my goals. So now they get a little scared. They pull back. Like, oh, this seems a little too obsessive, a little too much. And you can have the cookie.
Yes.
And it can still get you towards your goal. You can have the beer and it can still get you to your goal. Because at the end of the day, most people, unless you're getting on stage, their goal is not to have a perfect body. Their goal is to be happy and feel confident so that they can go out and have a beer and feel good about it. So there's sometimes where somebody goes out and they have some drinks and they're like, I had a great time and it was good. I don't feel any guilt about it. Fantastic. That was a nice night for you to have, that you are able to still, you're continuing towards your goal. Then there's people, it's like, I don't feel good. It's not, I felt shitty. Like, why did I do that? Well, that didn't help. So the same action could either be helping you get to your goal or not. So anybody who is listening, who's kind of in that space of like feeling intimidated by these phrases of, is this getting you to your goal or not? It doesn't have to be perfect. Nothing is perfect. Yeah. Like I eat garbage food.
Oh, yeah. I had a cookie
decent. Yeah. I had one today.
But that's the importance to understand too, right? Is even with my bodybuilding clients and my high performance clients, I still encourage from the basic ground up level progress, not perfection. Because in the attempt of progress, you're always going to work on being better than if you're chasing perfection, then give up. So if the idea is like, when I kind of discuss a choice point, it's like the idea is to simply accrue more towards choices than away choices. You're going to make away choices because those away choices are going to be like, I didn't plan my meals for the day, or didn't have like food prep, so I had to buy takeaway. But a towards choice in that situation, right, would be, did you make sure it had a protein on that lunch? Was it like a chicken salad wrap, or did you go to Subway? Did you go and have a protein source? Yes. Okay, that's a towards point. That's a towards choice. Yeah. So it
was better than the choice that they maybe made before.
Exactly right. So and in that microcosm of a moment, you've made a towards choice. But if we go back a step, the away choice was perhaps you got home and sat on the couch instead of prepping your meals for the next day. So we can break it down and find where we can kind of make it better. But again, it's that progress, not perfection. Just actually getting to that point, right, where it's like, how can we teach this client, teach this person to look at the global picture and just try to make more progress over time? 1% better every day is still a lot of improvement over 365 days.
Yeah, and that's the value I really see in a coach, is because how many times do you have a client that's like, yeah, I kind of really like a lifestyle client. I bombed this week. I just wasn't really good. And then they start going through all this stuff and you're going, dude, those decisions were a lot better than you used to make. Yeah. Like you still got out for a walk every day with all that stuff going on. And you think it was a failure because you didn't get to the gym to lift, but you still got that walk in and you had 13-hour work days this week. Like that's huge. You never did that before. So that's the value big time in a coach, is to notice those wins when sometimes you're not, because I think people's default is to feel like a failure, because that is their history. That's the way their brain's been wired from the way that they viewed themselves for so long.
And I think it's also kind of, part and parcel of how they've viewed or been told about nutrition and training. You're like, even with my bodybuilders and stuff, you get a lot of commentary of like, oh, that's not chicken and rice. And it's like, well, hang on. Like, firstly, why do you get to comment on my food? I'm not allowed to comment on yours. But secondly,
no, you're allowed to fit shame. You can't fat shame. You can only fit shame.
Yeah, we can go down that rabbit hole. But the idea that the perception is only it's got to be chicken and brown rice and broccoli, something, fish and broccoli, and something like that, where that's all we understand. So then the client's like, I didn't have this, so I feel terrible. Okay, but did you like your food? Did you get your protein? Like, one of my favorite strategies is for early on clients is to set targets. Not macro targets, but more so like, I'll give them the macros and calories, but more so like, in your day, I want you to include 3 to 4 serves of 30 to 40 grams of protein, and 3 to 500 grams of vegetables, and 2 pieces of fruit. Include those, and you've already ticked boxes. So how accurate that is to your macros, we can work on. But just starting with that, you've already improved tenfold from where you were. And then it's so easy then, because then what you do is pick the food you fucking like. What vegetables do you like? I'm not going to tell you what to be on a plate. I'm going to ask you what you like. And then you can pick them.
Yeah. And then people have to figure out too, when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's funny to me because how many people who will say they're picky with food, I don't really like these veggies, it just doesn't taste good to me. Then they'll go to Italy for a vacation. And it's like the food was so good. And it was all real food. It was just seasoned right, cooked right, all that. They love going to a really nice restaurant and it's like all fresh, real ingredients. Oh my God, that was so good. So you do like these things. You just haven't learned to cook them. Yes. So you now have to decide. So stop identifying as somebody who doesn't like those things, because that's a lie. It's a lie.
Already.
You then have to go, okay, do I want to pay to have these foods provided to me? Or do I want to learn how to cook? Watch some YouTube videos on how to cook and season and marinate and whatever the other phrases are in cooking. I'm a simple guy. I had a German mom who the only seasonings we knew was salt and pepper. So I did not grow up in some like high flavor palette, childhood. We didn't have a lot. It was like every Monday, Tuesday, every week, it was the same bland stuff. I have made her cry in the past by making these comments to her, but it's not her fault. That's how she grew up. So I don't need things to be super flavorful. I don't need it. If you do, learn how to cook, because otherwise none of those things are going to satisfy you. And then you're going to crave that hyper palatable food. And that's why you're like, oh, I need that pizza. I need that cheeseburger from that place or something like that. So you do like it. You just got to learn how to cook it or pay for it.
Yeah. That's like, again, one of those interesting things over time that we can learn as clients. Like people can't try to like ask us all the time for meal plans. Like I got no qualms giving you a meal plan, but I'm not going to tell you how to exactly, season and sauce and flavor, because I don't know what you like. If you want to make it a sweet and sour chicken, track it, get a pre-made can for all I care, throw the sauce in the pot, make it a stir fry, but just break down the portions and how big it was and learn to track it that way. But as long as you're learning to pick foods that are going to tick your macros and calories, but also just tick the box of something you enjoy, so you don't go looking for the cake at lunchtime instead of your fucking pre-made lunch.
For the most part, you can find that one seasoning that you put on everything, like the Frank's Red Hot sauce. I put that shit on everything. I got this one seasoning. I'll put it on steak. Yeah, steak, chicken, veggies. I'll put the same like hot, smoky, sweet, smoky seasoning that I have. I'll put it on everything. Like,
that's garlic.
That's fine for me.
Garlic is a wonder spice. It goes on literally everything. Makes you start stink, but it goes on everything.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. If you're eating chicken 3 times a day, 7 days a week, garlic.
Listen, if you guys are jealous of Brooklyn dating this guy, this hunk of meat, all right, understand that his favorite foods are asparagus and garlic. It is just there's just the smells coming out of his body is atrocious. You know what I mean? So don't be so jealous. Yeah. She's a strong woman.
It's a strong woman. She says it has a nice pheromone to it. It's quite enticing.
Ah, nice. That worked out for you, because it is not for most women, the smells that come out of you, from what I've heard.
So we kind of touched on a few messages I think we can both agree on, but with the content you put out and the state of the industry, even from the education level up, right? What is, I guess, one message that you would love to be the viral take of the fitness and health industry? People are like, no matter what video they saw, this was the message that came across. What would it be?
This was even today. Somebody had posted something, and I shared it, and I said something along the lines like, in 2024, can we just stop following the shitfluencers and understand that lifestyle is the only way, because it is your life. Everybody's looking for these quick things, but it's your life. So why not create a lifestyle? People, it's scary to think about a new identity. But if people understand that this slowly happens, when you just start doing these little things, it slowly happens. This new identity all of a sudden just happens. It's just like any one of your friends who stopped drinking. It was difficult at first. It's weird to say, no, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not drinking. I'm taking a break or whatever it might be that they're saying. At a certain point, that person just confidently, in no awkwardness at all, yeah, I don't drink.
Yep.
I don't drink. I mean, I went to college. I never drank alcohol until I was 21. Now I have a raging alcohol problem.
I never work.
Yeah. Listen, point is, start drinking early so you don't have a problem when you're in your mid 40s. No, but I didn't drink in college. And I remember my freshman year of college, it wasn't a thing for me to say like, yeah, I don't drink. And I remember hanging out with this dude that I became friends with, and he's like, yo, you want a beer? I'm like, no, I don't drink. He's like, all right, cool. Like, it was no big deal. Then he's like hanging out a little bit more, and he goes, yo, we're gonna go outside and smoke some weed. We're gonna go smoke. And he's like, you want to go smoke? And I'm like, nah, I don't smoke. And he was like, really? Like, oh, no. He goes, dude, I could normally pick out the stoners, and I had you pegged for a stoner. And I'm like, nah, this is just, I'm laid back. I wear cargo pants and tie-dye shirts. This is just, I'm a chill dude.
I still watch that 70s show. It's whatever.
Yeah, whatever. This was before 70s show, possibly, maybe. But yeah, so even then he was like, all right, cool. And they just went out and smoked. And I just still hung out like in the place where everybody's hanging out. It wasn't a big deal. So understand that lifestyle, it is your life. So why not do lifestyle change and trust that this slow process will not be as impactful and scary if you're open to the slowness of it. You don't have to just cut off all your friends. Yeah. But if your lifestyle starts to change, they might filter away. Maybe you are going to a gym and you start to meet new friends. I mean, you handled it when you lost your middle school friends. You handled it when you lost your high school friends. You handled it when you lost your middle school friends. If these friends are giving you a hard time about a lifestyle change and they're saying shit to you like you're no fun anymore, like, what the fuck? If I had a friend telling me you're no fun anymore because you don't drink, maybe I just have like emotional wall disorder. Is that a DSM diagnosis?
It is now.
Where I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So, you know, it's a life, it's your life. So make it a lifestyle would be, I guess, I would love to see just so pushed this year, and just people saying fuck you to all these people that are selling bull crap. Broccoli's bad for you. Carnivore is the kid, like all the, and for people to think critically. Like I watched that new documentary on Netflix. Did you bother watching it? You Are What You Eat. So the reason, and I encourage you to watch it for this reason, so that you can actually have a conversation with people about it. Because my first thought was, fuck this, I'm not watching it. It's gonna be the same as Game Changers. It's gonna be the same as What the Health. It's the same thing. But then you can't really actually have a conversation with people who genuinely bring it up and have these questions about it. All you end up saying is it's all bullshit. But you can actually watch it, you know? And I watched it, and I'm like, I agree with 99% of this quote unquote documentary. We all could eat more vegetables.
Yes.
The sourcing for the meat is terrible.
Yes.
That most people are eating. All of that stuff. But let's use our brain. Okay. If you don't like the industrial farming industry, get your meat well sourced. Just because the industrial farming industry is bad doesn't mean meat is bad.
Yes.
Just because most Americans are overweight and they overconsume meat and meat-like products doesn't mean that the meat's the problem. Yes. They're eating garbage food and hot dogs and Italian hoagies every day.
Yes.
Meat is not the problem. So to think critically and have those conversations where then maybe the next documentary that comes around, somebody can actually watch it and think a little bit better. I mean, they show a guy who is a cattle farmer, regenerative farming, cattle farmer, pasture-raised beef and everything. And he goes to this vegan restaurant in New York, top chef in the world. And he's talking at the end, he's like, how amazing the food was. He goes, and as I'm out here in my pasture, he's like writing a letter to the guy. As I'm out here in my pasture, looking at my cows, all I'm thinking about is asparagus. And people are like, oh, vegetarians. And I'm going, just because he had a good vegan meal doesn't mean he became a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
And then let's find out, because from what I understand, I read this today, every one of the people in the study, every person who had the vegan diet in the study, every one of them decided to still stay in an omnivore diet. None of them stayed vegan. It was not a palatable lifestyle for them. It didn't fit with them, but they did realize I do need to eat more fruits, veggies, berries, and real food.
They probably
That's what they realized.
more, felt better, digested better, fucking
Yep.
waste properly.
Yep. It's not the absence of meat. It was the increase
Yes.
in the variety of the vegetables that these people were eating that created the best health outcome. So that's why I watched it. That's my feedback on it. I think it would be good if coaches did, like, and this is an example, like, what do we want to see this year? How about we get some people having actual real conversations about these documentaries versus I'm a vegan now because I watched it.
Yeah.
And that's all bullshit. Fuck them. It's the same as everything else, and making fun of people for believing this stuff. Let's actually watch the thing so that we can better educate people how to make better decisions and ask better questions and think more critically, because they're not going to stop coming out, these documentaries.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially now, clickbait is so important, and viewer-generated finance is such a large part of information. Like having to hook and catch and trick and clickbait and align with or manipulate, like all these different fucking marketing terms that Brooklyn goes to town on. They're all, these things that are used now to generate interest so that they can polarize you and bring you in. So they're not going to stop.
And there's obviously, as far as I'm concerned, because I love a good conspiracy. And I don't even want to say conspiracy theory. I love a good conspiracy. There's no doubt that there's massive money that's going to be made for big food, big industry in fake meat products. So if we can push out, I mean, that documentary, that study was funded by Beyond Meat, I believe. It was funded by one of the fake meat companies.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, people are going to make a ton of money. Bill Gates owns more farmland than anybody in America. You don't think he's going to be growing stuff to make fake meat and then push these companies? So, yeah, these things are going to keep coming out, and there's going to be a big money grab.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting concept. Just being able to be taught to think critically. I think that's such an absence in education. No offense to yourself.
Oh God,
it's something that even at the university level, like, because I'm like, my subject, obviously, my degree is clinical psychology. That is a social science. It's a very left-leaning. I think it's like in the literature, it's about 70% left-leaning, female-dominant as a population of students. The absence of ability.
Look at you getting in there. Just the
opposite.
I love it.
Changing the narrative,
I love it.
Not all men are absent of emotional regulation.
I love, that's the stuff I'd much rather listen to and read. Most of the books I read are about like psychology or spirituality and next level thinking. Like, that's the stuff I like to read. So anyway, that's why I have a crush on you. So go ahead.
It's this, not any of this.
No. I still am looking forward to meeting you in person, seeing how large your arms and chest are. But I'll take the shoulders up Under Armour polo for now.
But it's true. It's true though that one of the things I've noticed is even at the tertiary, third, like next level education, university level education, critical thinking is not taught as opposed to box ticking. I need you to tick the rubric. I need you to get the criteria to match what's said. I need you to get what's said put across and basically just reverberate back to me what you heard. And that is what you need to pass the subject. So by the time you go through 12 years of school, 4 years of university, and then maybe a postgraduate, you've not actually been taught to critically assess information. You've been taught to regurgitate and simply repeat. And when it comes to health and nutrition,
I hate education for that reason. I hate public education. I rag on it all the time, and I'm a public school teacher for exactly what you just said. It's just simply regurgitation of information. Sit down, shut up. And every school's mission is to create critical thinkers. But then if you have a different opinion, you'll get shut down. Student, teacher alike. If your opinion is not the mainstream media opinion, it's harmful, hateful, whatever it might be. We're not teaching that. I mean, I clearly remember finally getting to college freshman year. I think it was freshman year, taking a philosophy class. And I'm like, I loved it. I loved it because it was like, no matter what the person said, well, what about this side? And then somebody could argue the other side. And it's like, well, what about this? And you're like, oh shit, it really does make you think. Like, are there not philosophy classes anymore as a standard for in college? It's been 20.
I don't even think my university has
25 years, 26 years since I was a freshman in college.
I wish.
Yeah, it was a requirement for me for my undergrad degree. I had to take a philosophy course. Yeah, I mean, imagine if that was in high school.
Oh,
If we had a philosophy class like that's the best way to really learn critical thinking.
yeah.
It's great. It'd be great, but it'd be interesting to find out if is that a requirement anymore in freshman year of college, because it was when I went. Like every major had to take like this philosophy course.
Yeah,
You had
no,
no choice,
like,
but
one of
we were
the
taking
things that
philosophy.
actually interested me was that I would get to go into like so one of the big psychological concepts that I enjoy is existentialism. Humanistic and
Yeah,
existentialism came out in kind of the same era during the 1950s, and we went through this more of like a existential crisis sort of period where there's certain problems that govern life, and these were like these existential thoughts and philosophies that kind of led to the anxieties that people experience, and that was what was actually governing directing their life. And those levels of thinking, I got into when we did counseling theory last semester. And one of my favorite parts about the subject itself was there was basically no wrong answer. It was how you formulated or constructed your answer. So, like, we had to basically provide a breakdown of how we would create our framework of counseling based on all the different frameworks that exist, like the schools of thought. Because it used to be back in the day, like, there was Freudian, there was Jungian psychology, there was humanistic psychology, there was the golden era psychology. And so you had like this CBT, or you had ACT, or you had like, it was all a terminology based, like this school of
very
thought.
dogmatic.
Yeah. And
Like
so,
very
like,
dogmatic. Like what's your pick your thing
what's
that you
your
believe.
team? Pick your tribe.
What's your dogma?
And
Yeah.
and pretty much from that now, like the research is kind of like the modality doesn't really matter. It's the connection you build with the client. And I try to take that into my coaching. But
Absolutely.
the coolest part about it was that we got to actually sit and think about what
that was a big one with the connection with the patient. The body keeps the score. That was a great one. Anyway, go ahead. Just made me think. I'm like, what book was that? And it's sitting right next to me. Go ahead.
But no, it was just that there was not so much a right or wrong answer, but rather how you formulated your answer, what was graded.
Yeah.
And it was like, why does this matter to you? What are your values? What does this lead you to believe? Why do you think that way? When you can express that, I'd rather be marked and graded on that than I would be, this is exactly what we want to hear as the perfect framework.
100%. Even like when I teach the nutrition course and I make them come up with a plan for a client, like, you give them the avatar, they come up with the plan. And very clear. There is no right answer here. You just need to be able to explain why you are prescribing this. And some of you could have drastically different prescriptions and you could still be all correct based on your why. And then we could talk about, well, here's the other way to look at it. Here's the other way to look at it, and blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. It doesn't seem to be taught. It's wild.
I mean, especially when it comes into coaching, like, I'm putting together a course myself, the Matter Institute starting to release education, because I hate the standard coaching. And one of the aspects I literally just taught was like data assessment, like what data markers to be assessed and what to look for like the average body composition client. And at the end, I kind of gave some case studies, because it was like, okay, so if you've marked a person or made a decision or like an impromptu decision as a coach based on any one marker, you're not seeing the bigger picture. And what we need to understand is like, what happens when all these points come together and create that picture? What is actually going on? And it was like, something along the lines of like, the person's not sleeping, working 20 hours a day, weight's shot up, anxiety has been reported as quite high. Subjectively, they've written back to you that they haven't seen or slept with their wife in 3 months, all these things. And I was like, is this now the time to drop calories, or is this the time to increase output? What's your answer? And obviously, then I come back and it's like, look, the basic answer would be yes, drop calories or increase output because weight shot up. The critical answer is don't touch a fucking thing. And that's literally what I wrote, because I'm like, encourage this person to go have sex with their wife, take a day off, deload their training, and go to bed. It's like, do that, and the weight comes down 3 kilos. That has happened for like 100 of my clients over the last 3 years. Every time that something like that has shown itself as a case study, that reply has gotten a better result than if I go, oh, less food. Because it's like, if you just read the numbers and not interpret the data, you're not a coach, you're just a calculator. And that's
that was like when
problems.
Like when I first started coaching, I made a spreadsheet and I'm looking at their macros. That's all the information I had, and like a check-in form, whatever. Now I'm like, I switched to Chronometer because I want to see your food quality.
Yeah.
Just even that makes a difference. And then I tell them all, put notes in there for every day. Give me like a reflection on the day. How was it? Like, I want to know. All those things are factors in it. But that's part of the evolution, I think, of coaching. Everybody's got to go through their phases. But so you want to do like a certification for coaches? Get right into those. Yeah, nice, man. I'll review it for you. I'll do a
shit
as a professional educator and
I think
curriculum writer. I'll take 10% for proofreading it.
Endorsed by Jimmy Neutron.
Endorsed by a master's in school leadership, Jimmy Nutrition, curriculum writer.
Curriculum.
Oh, come on.
This is the intro you give yourself when you go into a room, just randomly just in a room and you meet people. Introduce
Absolutely.
Masters of School Counseling and Leadership and Principal Education.
Yeah, I have a little speaker that is clipped onto my pants, and I have like a CB radio that's connected to it. And every time I walk into a room, it's time.
Just play the Jimmy theme song.
Yeah. It's awkward at Starbucks sometimes. They're like, you don't have to do that every day. And I'm like, I do.
The first time. It's your name.
My students are like, we get it. You love yourself. Like, yeah, nobody else does. I have to.
Oh, Jesus. But yeah, it is definitely an absent concept. Just being able to critically think as a coach and move in that direction, which I think is kind of like, everyone spits out courses, education these days. And I know that's no different. We're doing the same thing. But one of the things I keep talking to Brooklyn about is combining the theory and application of counseling and the coachability and actual coaching concepts and the theory and the data as one concept to teach you to think critically about the situation. And I think it's such an absent area in our field is coaches being able to do more than just read the textbook or read the single piece of information in front of them and actually get a global picture of what that person's life is.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it does take experience. And some people probably shouldn't be coaches. You can take all the certs in the world and you just have no empathy, no understanding.
No people skills.
That's why I'm grateful that I got into this later in life, not a 23-year-old trying to tell a 40-year-old mom they have the same 24 hours in a day. It's like, no, you don't. You literally have 24 hours, do whatever you want. You live at home with your mom and you do personal training. Like, this person's a single mom of 3 with a full-time job and a part-time job. You don't have the same 24 hours a day. So I'm grateful for that I got into this later on. But it is, it's part of that growing process. It'd be interesting to is there like any kind of, just even like a round table of coaches to have these conversations where you're just breaking down like a documentary or a study and just kind of teaching people to think about Layne Norton does a great job of breaking stuff down, but still, is there a lot of teaching how to think and ask questions about a study?
See, I think some of the issue there is because they get so, and it's not a bad thing. They get so tribalistic in their approaches. It's like, you didn't read the human randomized control trials, and he goes big on that. But then people are like, I don't know what the fuck that is. And then you'll go like, the RP guys, and they'll just be like, but did you train to failure or did you leave some reps in reserve? They're like, I don't know what that is. Or did you maximize partial reps? I don't know what that is. So it's like the guys who are the science guys are focusing on talking about the science, which is great because it needs to happen. But there's no intermediate kind of backstep here going, how do we actually combine this knowledge and talk about it, present it in a way where like the average schmo can go, okay, those things kind of make sense. And I guess that's where these conversations get to happen is because, guys like yourself, Aram, a bunch of the other coaches we met in America, some of the coaches over here even are getting like Jeb, getting into those sort of realms of understanding the client-centric approach and putting the client first, not the numbers, not the dollar, and actually being like, not everyone is going to be an elite athlete, but like our approach, I can take from the elite athlete and I can teach you some of those concepts to make you better. It's not to say you have to act and live like Michael Jordan, but there's definitely some things inside Michael Jordan that you can apply that will make your life better. That doesn't make it a bad thing to do, right? So, that's kind of our approach with even the general client is to try and teach them to be or expect more of themselves or set a higher standard for themselves. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect, but we can definitely take some of the science and go, well, this is what it means. And I think that's probably where like some of that issue lies.
Yeah, yeah. And even like as you're saying that, I'm thinking about those great coaches who really talk about like the best angle for a lat pull to get this and that. And then there's some people who find these great coaches and now they're like afraid to even start. Am I doing it right? Where it's, I almost wish every one of these videos of these people that know all the stuff with the perfect angle, the focus, this and that could just be like, and if you're new,
just
don't worry about this.
Yes.
this is not for you.
Yeah.
You know, it just for the new person, lean back a little bit, pull towards your chest. That's all you got to worry about. All right, you've been training for a while. You're wondering. This is what I want you to do, and get into it, because it's so overwhelming. You know, even like the good coaches that are putting the actual good stuff out there is overwhelming for the new person because they're like, oh, I'm not doing it right, so doesn't do anything. No, doing it wrong still does a ton.
Yes, doing anything more than nothing is better than nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it kind of comes back to that. Still, like the unfortunate side of social media for where most of us do market or put ourselves out is the polarization that has to exist. Even if you are a good coach putting that stuff out, right? You've got to get caught up in playing this is the perfect angle, and then you just get a bunch of engagement, people arguing with you about whether it is or not. It's like, cool, that person just made a bunch of engagement, but some random client that you potentially have that's looking at that is now just left about what the fuck they're doing because you just said this is the perfect angle, rather than just being like, hey, this is the information, go do something with it.
Yeah, yeah. Or even to preface some of these videos with who this is targeted for. Like this isn't targeted. This is targeted for the advanced lifter. If you're new, don't worry about this. Scroll into the next one. If there was just that genuineness, I mean, for me, I just don't have a big interest in like purposefully growing my social media by putting those types of things out. I just, whatever I feel like I'll put out, what I feel like putting out. I'm not going to like purposely try to create.
I like the creepy ones where it's like a black ominous background, hit the light off and your face just comes through enough. Like, that's a creepy vibe I can get behind. That's like content.
When my garage, when it's dark, I turn a light out. I put that one light on, and then I throw a couple little filters on it. Makes the whole background black.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the stuff. That's the money shot. Last sort of question is moving away from that. We know you guys have a podcast yourself called the Other Side Lifestyle Podcast between you and the Bald Genius. Now, how did
he just posts my stuff from 2 years ago? Just so you know. So I tell you, listen.
Are just yours from 2 years ago.
Come on, let's get real. I go, he just got the bigger follow, but I go, if you want to see what he's going to post next week, just scroll back long enough in mine.
So how did you two connect and go, this needs to be a podcast?
Yeah, we connected we went to we were at the same certification, nutrition coaching certification. Yeah, I think it was 2019, NCI in like 2019. Yeah, we had already been certified with other places before that, but we ended up being at the same place. We did not talk that weekend. I saw him. I know he was checking me out. I mean, that's just the reality. So then there was like this 3-month mentorship thing that we both ended up signing up for. So then I got to know him through that mentorship, which is actually really good for me. And we just stayed in touch after that little mentorship. We were kind of on the same page with a lot of things. We saw things in the space. We were having conversations about things and we're like, we're not liking this, blah, blah, blah. And we've just stayed friends since then. And at a certain point, I think we loosely talked like we should start a podcast. Like, why not? And then we went live one time and we just flowed really well together. You know, it was like 45 minutes plus. We're just talking. Like, I think he even started in one room and he ended up in another room in his house. It was just whatever. And there was positive feedback about it was funny, but informative. And we just decided to. I think we both kind of realized we'd like to do it and to have these conversations solely for the sake of having it, not for any reasons of like blowing up or anything like that. And we knew that I knew if I did something alone, I'm not going to do it every week. I think we both kind of
yeah.
realized like we'll hold each other accountable to doing this. Let's every Friday, 3 o'clock, we'll record something. And it just went from there. So it's been going on now 2 years of recording pretty much every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And you know, you get a week off here or there. But if you're backlogged enough, you get to still release one every week. And so it's been fun. Yeah. We've just had a blast. It's been really cool getting to, because of his influence, because he's really grown his social media. He's been able to make contacts with a lot of people. They all end up liking me more by the end of the podcast episode. But you know, they're like, can I have your number? He's weird. But it's he appreciates me making fun of him. We do it often, and then we flirt with each other. It's a perfect blend. So yeah, so it's been really cool. It's wild to have people come on that you highly respect in the space, and then to hear them afterwards genuinely be like, I had a great time. Like when we had you on, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. You guys had met. We had such a good time. We did another episode. So it's been cool. And it's just a different kind of vibe than I feel like a lot of the things out there, you know, because we'll be rude and foul and joke around, but straightforward, honest, like all the stuff that we just talked about today, what we see wrong in the space.
Yeah. It's interesting how the right people are around, and not the right time, but like we end up connecting with Aram in a very similar fashion. There was ironically at a coaching expo, a coaching summit, me and Aram, maybe a couple of others, were probably the only real like meatheads in the room. And after my presentation, Aram's out, we just started literally just grabbing, started chatting shit. And I was like, oh, there's another bro here I can talk to. And then ironically, like, because I didn't know, this like super funny is, you know, how big his social media is. I had no idea. Once I saw his post, I'm like, oh, I've known this guy. But behind the post and the stories, I wouldn't have known that was Aram based on how we met in Virginia. And it became like, yeah, we just started ripping on the industry and things that need to be better and to be improved. And, you know, after my presentation, he's like, oh, I thought about all these things, a lot of these things too. It's like how I deliver them. It's like good to see like another meathead kind of going past just the macro approach. Yeah. And it's like that connection where he doesn't come across that way, but you meet him, it's like, oh, we can actually have the same conversation here, and I can meet more people through you, and you have similar people who think like you, and now you actually have a circle of people that are just good coaches that give a shit, but also just love being jacked. And it's like, yeah, it's so unfortunate sometimes in the industry where you can meet a lot of shit people and it cops a bad rap, but you could also make good connections and then end up just finding people like, you know, we've spoken to you guys now, we've spoken to Ram. We plan to come over to America twice this year, and both times Ram's like, where are you going? Where are you going to be? What times? Like, where's it? How close is it to me? He's like, you want to come by our place? You've got a place to stay. I'm like, technically, I've met you once, and you're just like, you know, between both of you guys, like, where are you going to be? Other Americans that that we've met, where are you going to be? What times? Do you need gyms? Do you need it? Like, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? All we have to do with Americans was you guys sucked.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, like I was just in Austin for a conference, for Ali Gilbert's conference, and met in person for the first time Sean Pastuch, who we had on our podcast, and we've had small encounters back and forth online, and then we've talked every day since that conference. He's like, when you gonna come and hang out? He like made me breakfast up in Long Beach in New York, and we did an episode for his show, and had some food afterwards, and I'm like, it's wild when you do just meet these genuine people who they're not looking you up and going, oh, that's your following. Yeah, you're not important enough. Because it has been eye-opening. We've had some people early on in the show who had big followings online and probably big businesses, but I don't know what kind of people they are coaching, wouldn't even repost our stuff advertising that they're going to be on our show. And I'm like, what's up with this? Like, this dude just thinks he's too big for his britches. Like, it was eye-opening how many people were like that. But now the caliber of people, the type of people, it's like we can see through the bullshit now.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. A lot of ego with a lot of these people.
Yeah, it's interesting how that comes out. Hey, you start to get to the point where it's like, okay, who's gonna share this, or is it gonna be reverberated? Is it gonna be posted on? And it's not for like, oh, this will get me following. It's because like you were on my show, so I want to that you're gonna be on there. We talked about
like, don't you even want to share it just to say that like I was on a podcast here, go give it a listen? It's just weird to not even once share that. Like, are you embarrassed that you were invited to a podcast? Yeah. Like, obviously we made you laugh and you said good stuff and we pumped you up, but it's so strange that that kind of stuff. And I'm always, because I'm a full-time teacher and a coach in the space, there used to be at the beginning more like this, and it still sometimes creeps in like, I'm not the real deal. I'm part-time.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just a teacher, and I don't have to worry about the grind of my business being successful. You know, but that's the gift that I have, is that I've been blessed with, whatever. It's not a gift of mine, but like, yeah, I don't have to. I can just coach and enjoy coaching. And I belong here as much as anybody else. And if you don't like that and you want to look at me that way because I'm part-time, that's fine. Fuck you. I don't care. Like, I'm confident with who I am. I'm good. You know? So yeah, it just seems like it's an accelerated pace the last 6 months of meeting good people in the space. You know, it's like you find that circle of people. It'll be interesting how long we can continue to meet good people. We just start meeting shitty people a year from now.
Yeah, surely there's like a limit,
or will
right?
there be...
like a top, like a ceiling.
Yeah.
You only meet so many.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're all here at all the same conferences because we figured out that these are the good people.
Yeah.
You know, like,
the one thing I've noticed with you Americans is like, you conference a lot, but it's like, every time I see like, you know, the new groups of people that I meet or new interactions, is like, they all go to the same conference. I'm like, does this just get the repeat of the same information, or are you guys all just like communicating
a lot,
or like, you know, it just
a lot of them, a lot of them will be the same presenters. You figure that out real quick and go, all right, the only reason I'm going to that is for the networking and to meet people and hang out at a certain point. But that's what's nice with the ROMS event, Real Coaches Summit 2023.com to sign up for this year's conference. He should have changed the website name, but still tickets, 25 left. Use code FRIEND100 for a discount. But that's what's nice with his. It's a completely different lineup.
Yeah.
And the goal is like every year to have a completely different lineup. I'm sure there's going to be repeat presenters, but it's not the same one. I mean, how many conferences you see out there? It's like the same people talking the same thing, like, you know, so, but there's still, you still find those good ones, and it can still be good from a networking perspective. So you're going to go to the Coach Catalyst one again this year.
Yeah, ideally we'll be there at that one again, and then we're going to be doing our own seminars and training, I think, in December. We're going to do some free training workshops, try and get on the East Coast where we've got most of our connection.
Where's that? Where on the East Coast?
So we'll plan probably Florida, because I know Ali's down there. We'll plan Washington, around Virginia again, because we had some good setups there in around the conference. And then we've got some guys in NYC that have some facilities there as well. So we'll try and get some good spots there where we can just localize to coaches and stuff there that don't have my skill set. We can get into some training techniques, some coaching stuff, nutrition applications, and that sort of thing that I want to get more experience coaching on. And we're just probably going to do it for free, to be honest, and just get content out of it. But just try and be over there and say that I present in America, and make it some of my best work. But yeah, we're definitely there in August. Cavs kind of made that as a necessity. And then again, we'll probably be over for a month, maybe December. We want to look at a bigger trip.
Nice. Well, you'll be near me then. If you're Virginia, New York, I'm right in between.
Whereabouts you?
New Jersey. We're outside of Philadelphia. You're literally going
fucking
through.
Jersey. Hey.
Yeah, Jersey.
Fucking walking there.
Oh, South Philly though. It's a little different than New York. You know what I'm saying? South Philly's a little different. You got the Philly accent thing.
All of my accents are just based on TV shows and movies that I've seen. Like,
a lot of New Jersey is like North Jersey, New York accents that you see on TV. Most of the New Jersey shows are closer to New York. Yeah, man, we got Philly though. We Philly though, bro.
Boston is my Boston accent is just Mark Wahlberg from Departed. I'm not a fucking cop.
Yeah,
I'm not a cop.
Say hello to your mother. Say hello to your mother for me.
Say hello to your mother for me. I'm not a fucking cop. That's my accents.
Yeah. Those are the only two you need, man. Yeah, they are pretty good.
They're pretty good.
I like it.
Pretty good.
Yeah, for that month, man. Definitely, we'll definitely link up. You can shoot some content in my garage, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that'll be that'll be the different page.
I was gonna say it might not be appropriate for your Instagram, but
that's the $9.95 a month one.
Yeah. Join the subscribe page for that content.
That's
man. I'll travel down the one. Yeah, I'll shoot up to New York if you don't stop by.
All right, we'll 100% link up. That's a given. I think we're trying for like 2.5, 3 weeks in August as well. But I'll have a mid-semester break, so it'll probably be like early August to the summit. I think Cav said that's going to be towards the back end of August. So we'll try and link up probably 3 weeks there.
Yeah, I should be at that one this year.
It should be fun. Like,
Yeah.
I'm hoping to present again and do a lot more work over there this time. Cav kind of gave us around this time the notification that I was speaking last year. So hopefully I will get the chance to do so again. I hope I did a good enough job. But yeah, the plan is to keep coming back over basically until we're living there. So that's kind of like our endeavor is the next few years is just basically build the beachhead and just work our way in and make more connections and networks where it's actually worth, starting over, I guess, basically over there and giving America a crack. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Yeah, you'll instantly get more respect with your accent. Yeah, some like Australian guy over at the gym in the area. I'm fucking signing up. That's how it'll work.
Watch out, he's fucking walking there. He's from Australia.
Yeah, yeah. This guy, he knows his shit. Did you hear his accent?
Yes,
like it'll be easy.
He says, "Mate,
100%." Yeah. You did start off with "G'day" today. That was my first podcast guest appearance where somebody started off with "G'day."
Man, that "G'day" was pretty Australian. You did a pretty good job of that. That's
G'day. I spent a month in Adelaide. My my aunt was there.
Oh, of all the places you went to Adelaide.
Whatever, man. Fuck you.
Fuck you. Get the fuck out of here.
I think we shot over to Sydney one day, did a little outback checking out, but yeah, so I'd like to go back.
Hey,
not to Adelaide though.
You're always welcome here. We're throwing out at this point. All right, so to finish strong.
Yeah.
Finish strong.
Yeah, everybody's done listening at this point.
They're gone.
They're gone.
Give us one book recommendation that you would like any listener to take away from this episode that they can go and read that will improve them or help them understand nutrition or any field better. What is it? Shoot, go off the head.
My favorite book recommendation is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Okay.
Short, easy read. It is nothing to do with fitness or anything like that, but if you're kind of walking around frustrated, a little angry, this and that, it's a big perspective shift on life. And a lot of people, I think, walk around with an image of themselves based on what they think other people think of them, because it's almost impossible to view yourself outside of viewing how you think other people view you. It's impossible. Like, describe yourself. What do you think it's like when you walk into a room? You instantly start picturing what it's like when you walk in a room, which is a third person perspective. So it's very difficult. And that book is just eye-opening. Not everybody's going to be in a place where they'll receive, I think, the information. I was in a place where it was like, if I read this 20 years ago, I'd been like, this is bullshit kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
So I do really like that book. Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza is a good one too, where it's like in a similar field of our outlook and things like that. So those are my recommendations for now.
I like it. And if you were to have a refeed, cheat meal, free meal, untracked meal, what is your go-to?
I do that like every day. Go-to for that, probably pizza and wings, man.
Ooh, nice.
I'm pretty simple when it comes to that kind of stuff. Pizza and wings, I'll always be happy with.
Man, everyone always looks at me because I always choose like simple shit. Like, I love a good Japanese karagi takeaway or like a Chinese takeaway and like donuts or stuff. Like, I like chicken. If I'm gonna have pizza, I'm getting pizza. I'm getting basics. Like, I don't need to have like some fancy gourmet meal. If I'm having something that's off plan, it's not fucking like good for me. It's gonna be something simple that I like.
Yeah. Pizza and wings, plenty of blue cheese. Sign me up.
And last question. I stole this from Paul because Paul's is pretty good actually. There is one person you would recommend that we have on this podcast. Who would it be? And you have to help us bring him on.
Mike Israetel. Dr. Mike Israetel from RP Strength.
I saw you guys had
Mike. He's the one that's popping up. He was recently on, well, it was like a month or so ago, but just a blast. The knowledge that he has on the current research and information, all that stuff, and then just his personality of going with the flow of wild conversation.
Yeah.
He was a blast. So yeah, we can definitely connect. We had him and his wife on. They were great. Alan Aragon's great too. For being somebody who's so deep into science, and his book is great. Flexible Dieting for somebody who's looking for a nutrition book. And he's fun. He was fun too. Sometimes you see his posts online, you don't necessarily know what these people are going to be like, but he's fun. But Mike Israetel, man, I think you'd have a wild conversation with him, especially just you guys both be in that space of bodybuilding and all that stuff.
Yeah, nice. I can get around that.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, I've taken up more than enough of your time. Thank you for joining us, and we will have this out soon. If you could leave any or drop any links, upcoming events, bios that people can find you at, let us know, and we'll upload in the description. So where can we find you?
Instagram's the easiest thing, at Jimmy Nutrition. One word, no numbers or letters or anything. Oh, there's letters, obviously. At Jimmy Nutrition, simple.
And also go listen to their podcast, The Other Side, a lifestyle podcast with Jimmy, the better half, and Aram.
That's right. Damn right.
All right,
you can say I'm the lesser half when you have him on.
All right, mate. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely, brother.